Hello YouTube, Skip the Wolf here, back with another video for your viewing pleasure. And this video will be reviewing the new Nothing More album. Carnal came out tonight on Spotify, and I do plan to get the album because, spoiler alert, this album is good. This album is actually very, very good, but it's nothing more, so I figured it would probably be good, considering the trajectory that they were on. Um, of course, with their music and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a good album. Um, of course, everybody probably knows the controversy about Johnny Hawkins and stuff and all that mess that was in 2023. That's probably all like buried to the side. So, I mean, like he did really prove himself by making a good album, and that's all I'm really gonna say about that. I do think this album is better than Spirits by just like a tiny little bit, a tiny margin, but it's not as good as stories we tell ourselves. Of course, I think that's a benchmark that's never really gonna be like achieved because the stories we tell ourselves is up here, and we have like Carnal and everything else they've done, which is basically close to it, but not like at the same level, of course. And I do feel some of that like influence on this album more than I do on Spirits, and I think that's probably the main issue I had with Spirits was that it wasn't like I don't know, it wasn't nearly as memorable. I guess and that might not be true in the long run with this album either, with songs on it and stuff like that. But I feel like there was a little bit more effort on this album than on Spirits, and Spirits took like 5 years to get here. It came out in 2022, like in the fall of 2022. And it's surprising that they came back so quickly, considering all that. But yeah, they made a really good album here. Like the interludes and stuff. Of course, they have those in here. I like them better on the stories we tell ourselves, but they still are pretty good. Um, I'm guessing like the issue, like first off, the issue like compared to stories we tell ourselves, I am kind of missing that emotional like I guess that what is it? Um I am kind of missing that kind of like catharsis, I guess. Like that introspection a little bit. Like there is introspection on that album, but like their first two albums being a major label band, they were deep into it. Like and that's why the stories we tell ourselves was so good. It's one of the best albums of that decade. Like and certainly one of the best modern hard rock albums of the past 10 years, of course. Like and they don't necessarily have to do that, but it would be nice to see that. But it's good to see like what they're doing now, and it's just as good as what they were doing previously, of course. So yeah, I think Johnny Hawkins really proved himself again vocally here, like on a lot of these tracks are good. The speeches again by Ellen Watts are good, well used at times. Like they're like as meaningful again. I don't want to keep harping on that, but they still add an experience to the album. You know, like when you're listening to it, it's interesting to like go from to have an album that like fits and feels like an album, but also feels like you can listen to any of these songs like on radio or whatever, or like by themselves, and they would still be pretty solid. Of course, there's songs that are better than others, so let's check that for a second. Of course, we've heard If It Doesn't Hurt, House on Sand. Like, those are the first two songs that I heard from the album. Like, those are the only two songs I heard from the album. I didn't really listen to the singles all that much compared to Spirits, but I thought they were pretty good, pretty indicative of what this album would be. Kind of dark, like Spirits kind of was, but, like, still very good. And they were pretty good songs. They even made Eric from I Prevail sound good. You know, like considering my history with I Prevail, and we all know that I Prevail sucks. a lot, especially that last album. That last album was garbage, but he does pretty well on House of Sand. I would say Johnny Hawkins does upscale him a bit and does the better performance, but that's just me. That's just my bias, but whatever. And then, of course, we have a couple of other um, people making appearances. We have David Draymond of Disturbed going on Angel Song. That song pretty good as well. I feel like Draymond was a bit underutilized or something like that. Was a bit like not used nearly as much. Like he just comes on the second chorus. He's just like, "Here I am," and then Johnny Hawkins and the rest of the band like do their thing and for the rest of the song. And I really wish it would have been like more of like both of them like kind of like add their 2 cents on and add their twist to the lyrics and stuff, and like it would have been nicer to hear. I'm keep thinking about like North Lane doing After Image with Ian Kenny of Carnival, how well that duet was. Like something kind of like that, where it's like two like huger. I'm not saying that like that duet was like bigger or whatever, anything like that, but like something where it's like two artists that I have had a history of loving coming together for a song, and it's still good regardless, I think. And there's also the other one from a guy named Sinister, which let me look it up right now. I think is a rapper or something like that. Like his is pretty good. I was surprised that it was as good as it was on the song Stuck. I thought like when I first heard his part, I was like, oh, this is probably like not gonna be one of the better tracks. And hey, he did good. So yeah, the cameos and stuff all pretty solid on this album, of course. But of course, there's also we have other songs, Free Fall, Blame It on the Drugs. Both really good songs. Down the River is another good one, more radio friendly. I feel like all of these songs really like could be on radio and could be released as singles. That's a strength about this album that is pretty good. I do feel like the effort was more pronounced than it was on Spirits in terms of that. Because on Spirits, you did have songs like Tired of Winning, which were really good. But the rest of the album, even though it was radio friendly, I didn't feel as like connected to a lot of it. This one, I did feel like some sort of connection, some sort of motivation to the point where I thought, oh, I'm probably going to give this like a 9 out of 10. But you'll see the rating later on that I give it. Because it's not a 9 out of 10. Spoiler alert. But it doesn't really deserve a 9 out of 10. I'm just, you know what? I'll just say on the bat, 8. I'll give it an 8. For sure. While saying that, there are some songs that I wasn't super, like, crazy about. I think Run For Your Life could have been a better closer. Not the best closing track that they've ever done, in my opinion, but still solid. You have, like, Give It Time, which is more, like, kind of sappy and how it's, like, handled, but again, pretty good as well. It's just not a personal favorite, and like Existential Dread as well. Even though like I love the riff, I love the guitar work on this track and some of the vocal work. The chorus could have been handled a little bit better, and it does run for a little bit longer than it really needs to. But overall, still not bad. Nothing on this album is really all that bad. A lot of the stuff that's like lesser on this album is pretty much fine. It's just fine. It could have been a little bit better. So overall, Carnal, good album. Like I said, 8 out of 10 for it. That's basically the best rating that I could possibly give for this album. So yeah, I'm anxious to see what they're gonna come up with next. If it's gonna be any different, if it's gonna be more the same, anything like it'll probably be good nonetheless. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this review. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below, of course. This is Scamp the Wolf signing out. Take care.